True. Surprise, motherfucking stream. Welcome back. It's the comics. It's the Comics Code Authority, y'all. Good to be back. I'm as always. Why do I hear my voice? Oh, I have a whole other tab open with the stream on. Let's try that one more time. What's going on, you lovely people? It's your boy, Rover Queen. The Comics Code Authority is back, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely, scrumptious, delicious, sexy as fuck, and awesome homeboys. We'll just go in order. Elvis, starting with you, brother. Introduce yourself.
My name is Elvis. I am one of the frequent contributors here whenever we do a live stream together at Comics Code Authority. And I also run my own YouTube channel over at Unswall Radio. And I'm glad to be here because, boy, this has been a terrible weekend for Marvel.
All right. We have a special guest coming to the channel. Mikhail, please introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, everyone. I like to, write a lot about movies and TV shows, and I'm a big fan of comic book films. And, thanks to the wonders of the internet and the platform formerly known as Twitter, I got in touch with some wonderful people here. And now I occasionally, join and like to discuss comic book films, such as the one we're going to be discussing today.
All right. And last but not least, AJ.
Hey, frequent guest on the channel, part of the Comics Code Authority. It's good to be back. We haven't done one of these in a while. So, it'll be interesting talking about this weekend's happenings.
Word. All right, guys. So let's not waste any more time. So let's start off with the shocking, quote unquote, shocking news last night. RDJ is coming back to the MCU, but he's not Iron Man and he is not AI Tony. This motherfucker is Dr. Doom. So this shook the streets. There's been a lot of divisiveness about it. So let's take whoever wants to go first, please. Please.
So, worst white Doom, probably. That's like you have Julian McMahon, or McMahon, however fucking you say it, from the Tim Story films. Now, the Tim Story films aren't good, but they, I think he was a really good cast. He was a really good cast for that. I thought, good presence, good voice, good design, fantastic. And then you had, of course, Dr. Doom from the unreleased Corman film, Joseph Culp. He's fantastic. Great design, great voice, great presence, good story in that film. And then you have Iron Man, nostalgia bait man. So they're all white. Okay, we'll just get out of the way. They're all white. So he's the worst white one. Okay, he's the worst white one.
Yeah, this shit's fucking ridiculous. It did push me to stop asking for T'Challa to be recasted because this is how we end up with fucking Chris Evans as a T'Challa variant or some other ridiculousness. So yeah, no thanks. I'm not looking forward to that kind of monkey's paw situation.
I already went that monkey's paw with Chris Evans. We'll get into that later.
Nope. The king is just dead. Let's leave him that way, I guess. Because
dang.
Yeah,
I never thought I'd hear today, bro. I never thought I'd hear today.
Yeah. No, I don't like it. But if this is the creative deficiencies that's happening at Marvel these days, you know what? I'm good. I said yesterday, I felt halfway decent after watching Deadpool and Wolverine. I should have known that the universe would correct itself, and not even 2 hours after I got out of the theater, this happens. So, yeah, it was that kind of weekend for Marvel.
Miguel, go ahead.
To be honest, I'm like, okay. It wasn't really, it was interesting. It feels like a stunt casting kind of thing. It did remind me, though, of of a thing that already happened once on the animated series Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Because I remember that show had to, I think because of Jeff Loeb's influence, it kind of had to get like rebooted in season 2, which diminished its quality. And I remember there was an episode called Emperor Stark, where Tony Stark was like, he turned evil, I think, because of the Purple Man's influence or something. And originally, and Chris Yost, who I believe was the showrunner and writer of that episode, he actually revealed that the original episode was called Emperor Doom. And so Tony Stark ended up replacing Doctor Doom as the sort of main bad guy of the episode. So I'm just like wondering, okay, so is there something similar that is being pulled here, I guess? And it's interesting. And it's a weird pivot, though, from the entire Kang saga. And and so I'm kind of wondering, maybe, okay, so I guess it's interesting, and I'm wondering what they're going to do with it. But to me, it's kind of like, it's not like it's not like a mind-blowing, wow, this is amazing sort of thing. It's just right now, okay, whatever.
Speaking of Kang, and I've said it before, and I said this way back when too, and people were like, "Oh, but Kang isn't gone. They'll bring him back. You're being dumb." Well, F you all. I was right. Haha. So, back when Loki season 2 ended, there's a line where like, we're gonna round up the remaining Kangs. There are a lot of stragglers out there, and like, it's so like that's great. I like it because at that point I was like, we're not getting Kang Dynasty. I already saw the cards in play there, and like I think it's just really funny. And I liked Loki, and I always wanted Kang's story to be contained within Loki. I did not want. I thought I did not want Kang to go past Loki, because I thought that Loki, the show, actually set up Loki as a really good foil for Kang. Like, I don't want to see Loki fight Spider-Man or Iron Man or Captain America or whatever the hell. I want to see him fight Loki. And so I like that it was contained within the Loki show. And I love that line because it just kind of makes it seem like the TVA just kind of started cracking down on Kangs. And so you can just imagine that
off screen.
At the end of Quantum Mania, they're all like in the arena, and then like a billion TVA agents start reading everyone their rights and arresting them.
Wait, time out though, because I think this weekend there's an MCU tie-in comic coming out, and that I think has to do with like the TVA and all that shit. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens in that comic book.
Yeah, but like I when I first mentioned that, people were like, "No, that's so dumb. That the Kangs are still out there." No, like they all got arrested, and I think that's funny as hell. I love how mundane that is, and inadvertently, accidentally, is way more comic booky than whatever the fuck they're doing with Tony Stark here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, I'll say this: I'm not mad at it, and I understand it. Like I understand it 100%. I still do believe if everything with Majors didn't happen, it would be him on stage. But everything happened, and I honestly feel in my gut once they got the verdict about Majors' case. Listen, they had to do a hard pivot, and I guarantee you, bro, they were blowing up RDJ's phone. They were blowing up the Russo brothers' phone. It was like, yo, save us. I don't think this was ever the intention. I think this is the hard pivot. And somebody said it on Twitter. I don't know what account it was, but somebody said, yo, they just gave RDJ a blank check and told him to put as many zeros. I 100% believe that happened. I 100% believe that happened. And go ahead.
I just want to say I totally agree with you. I mean, there is no way. I mean, it's obvious. It's evident that. I mean, when you have a movie called Kang Dynasty and you have a post-credit scene teasing an army of Kang variants, and then it's like suddenly, no, Kang Dynasty's canceled, and we have Doctor Doom. It's obvious that this was never the plan. This was like a full-blown reaction. And it really makes me curious as to what was the actual plan originally. Like, you could probably write a whole book about just how, okay, that whole phase sort of had to undergo this all of these unexpected evolutions, like Chadwick Boseman dying and having and you know that forces a hard pivot with Black Panther, and now Jonathan Majors gets canceled, and this forces a hard pivot with the Avengers going forward. And you can imagine like a whole bunch of scripts that were working under one paradigm, like having to be rewritten on the fly to fit into the new paradigm, right? Like entire blueprints, you know, and plans and marketing and whatever being like tossed out the window, and stories that were meant to continue suddenly being dropped and forgotten until, you know, maybe forever, right? So so I'm just like really fascinated now by the behind the scenes story more than anything. Like that to me is more interesting than, okay, Robert Downey Jr. is this. No, I'm like more, okay, what was the Kang story going to be, at least in its rough form?
Yeah, I also was intrigued about that too, because I'm not gonna lie, I say this as somebody that is I've kind of tuned out of the MCU. But, you know, once I heard about the whole Kang thing, like I was envisioning in my head, you know, like an Avengers movie where, you know, either it's the Avengers fighting a shit ton of Kangs, and then that leads into Secret Wars. And, you know, apparently the rumors are there's like a big reset after that. So my brain was working trying to figure this out. But now, again, I think the bigger story is, I do agree with you. It's like, okay, what happened behind the scenes? Like, you know, what calls were made, you know, what stuff got shuffled around. And I wouldn't even be surprised if, you know, plans for Fantastic Four also got shifted around, because I think one of the talks on the timeline right now is, oh, this isn't the actual Victor Von Doom. You know, my homie Blackwing, he put up a post like yesterday. He was like, what if we get introduced to the real Victor Von Doom in Fantastic Four? And, you know, this is just a Tony Stark. This is just Tony Stark variant. So it's interesting. And again, I think this is just another casualty of Phase 4. I don't think anybody saw this coming. I don't think any one of us saw this coming, but it is what it is. And I think, I don't even know what to think. I think it'll be fine in the end. You know, I know there's people who are for it. I know there's a big controversy about, you know, the nationality of the character. But I always say this, and I say this as somebody who doesn't really, I hate, you know, race swaps and all that stuff, but I also understand this is a different universe. You know, what you're expecting in movies 9 out of 10 times is not what you're going to get. So it's going to be interesting. But I'll say this though, if it wasn't for that Comic-Con like video that came out with him taking off the mask, I think there would be more people saying, what the fuck, then, oh my God, Tony Stark is back. Because this is like something out of this is something out of wrestling right here. This is a wrestling pop. It 100% is. It's like, was it when Sting takes off the mask, but it's still Sting? Like, this is exactly what this is. Exactly what this is. So, I don't know. Am I interested in seeing how this plays out? Sure, but I will end by saying this. Yo, Jonathan Majors, the phone wasn't worth it, homie. The phone wasn't worth it, homie. The phone wasn't worth it. It should have been you on that stage, but it is what it is. Shit happens, but damn.
I will say one thing, though.
What's up?
Is that I'm so glad that we might actually get a real Beyonder, because I have to say those rumors that Beyonder was going to be a Kang felt so legit and plausible. And now the fact that it can't be a Kang means we might actually get like a real Beyonder. So cool. Give him Jerry curls, man.
Kind of like when I think the Ninja Turtles movies had to switch and do a real Shredder. You know, like
please. I hate that, because that was, sorry, but like before the reshoots, he had a more accurate origin to the comics. I don't care if he was white. I don't want to say it that way, but he might have been white, but the origin was much more faithful to the comics, even though he was white. So them doing the reshoots ruined like the at Shredder 100%.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of reshoots, I mean, I know I said we'll end, but I just said I'm interested, but I'm also kind of worried as well, because it's just like, how much of the old shit are they going to keep from what they had before? because I believe this Kang Dynasty was already being worked on. So, is this going to be a case of, is this going to be like a good solid movie, or is this going to be potential carryover from what we were going to get? So I know the Russos are back and everybody loves the Russos, but I am kind of worried about okay.
I thought that like over the last 4 years we all kind of started to realize that they were just really lucky to hitch their wagon on the right pop cultural time. Isn't that like the consensus now? That they're just really lucky?
I don't know if that's the consensus. I just know that their post-Marvel output hasn't been that great, but it feels like they are very I think after Joss Whedon, they were sort of like the go-to directors, right, on the MCU. Like they seem to be like the ones who best worked within that paradigm, in terms of hitting all the beats and making it like really, I don't know, enjoyable and commercially appealing and everything. And I guess maybe they got out of their comfort zone and when they left Marvel, for other opportunities. And, when that didn't work out, it was like, and Marvel calls. So, it feels like an interesting reconciliation. Like maybe they're like, okay, we tried our hand at Netflix and all this stuff and it didn't work out very well. Let's go back to what we're good at.
Yeah. And a lot of people have reverence. I know we all may have different opinions on how we feel about the movies, but I think overall the consensus is that most of the movies that they worked on, I think people liked them.
Yes,
like people enjoyed the Avengers movies. I think they did Captain America as well. So
the
people
worst
enjoyed
ones.
Yeah, so I agree. I think it was just like, okay, well, we still have this. We still have this clout, or we still have I guess you could say like baggage or energy from what we did. So let's go back, because
that's the magic of the MCU. Okay, they can make 5 movies and only one good one. People think that like they're great. That's the magic of the MCU.
Listen. I'm just going based off what the numbers and what the general consensus is. I'm just going based off of that. So I can easily see something like that too. Like, hey, it didn't work out here, but it didn't work out where we tried to go after Marvel. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and come back. And again, like I said, this entire moment right here, this was Marvel just doing their best to catch people again. Because when was the last time these motherfuckers were at San Diego Comic-Con? Like, I think it's been a good couple of years. So it would make sense that, hey, we need to get a moment. We need to try to get people riled up. And let's bring RDJ back. Let's bring the Russo brothers back. And, we got the Fantastic Four. That's something people have been looking for. So let's go for it. And I think if you take away the online portion of it, I think they succeeded. And at least getting that good pop back. I don't know if anybody disagrees, but I think they succeeded in getting the pop. So
I definitely would say it was an act of showmanship. Like I think it's good showmanship.
Yes.
Like it, I mean, and it's like everybody knows who Robert Downey Jr. is, right? So it's kind of like the big reveal. It probably would have been better if maybe at least there. Like I'm wondering, okay, wait, was there supposed to be like a post-credit scene in another thing somewhere where there would have been like a masked Doctor Doom? So now like this would be the official unmasking of him or something,
Like $9, okay, to all of you, that the Fantastic Four is gonna have like a real Doctor Doom, and at the end, like it's like he gets contacted by Robert Downey Jr. and Dr. Doom to join the Legion of Dooms.
That was good.
Who's taking that
was
bet?
Good.
Who's taking that bet? It's gonna happen.
I would take that bet. I will take that bet.
Yeah. See you in 3 years.
I don't gamble.
See you in 3 years, okay?
You know what? I'm mad at you because that was really good. But yeah, again, that was something that Blackwing thought as well. We'll get the actual Victor Von Doom, because I do think Marvel, to an extent, does pay attention to. Okay, I think they may be paying attention to the online discourse, so people will get satisfied. But again, because they needed that pop, they had to go the route of we're gonna bring back somebody people know and love as this person. But I do believe we will get a proper Victor Von Doom, because there is no way, especially if these Fantastic Four movies do well and they continue, that it's gonna be RDJ as Victor Von Doom.
Well, that's the thing, right? I agree with you, but like at the same time, when would the switchover happen? Because I feel like it is like, okay, let's say we get a real Doctor Doom and everything, like you have to sort of introduce and make the real Doctor Doom important before Secret Wars, honestly, because if it's already Doctor Doom in Secret Wars, then like that kind of defeats the purpose of even having Doctor Doom in Secret Wars. You could just you shouldn't even be Doctor Doom then if you're gonna have this.
Or why introduce a variant before you've even seen the actual character?
Exactly.
I mean, the whole thing is dumb. Yes, they needed a pop. I agree with that, but let's be clear. Their last few movies have underperformed severely due to
fingers crossed to Deadpool Wolverine. Come on,
nah,
drop next week. Drop,
bro.
Drop,
that one's gonna hit $1 billion probably before. What is this? The 28th? It'll hit
70% drop minimum next week.
God damn it, Elvis.
It was too big of a crowd pleaser. I think it'll make some money.
Who was pleased? I was grimacing the entire time.
We'll get there. Let AJ finish. We'll get there. Go ahead, AJ.
But no, what this is their last number of films have underperformed just in general, or underperformed for what their own expectations were of those films, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's be clear. Marvel was scared, right? They've had the internet crowd, screaming about, the MCU's gone woke or whatever. They just had that long, protracted stock market battle with Iger and Feige on one side, and what was the guy who used to be an exec of Marvel?
Perlmutter?
Thank you, Perlmutter. And his group, they were trying to force more seats onto the board. So you just had that happen. You've had a number of films underperform. You've had audiences not being as on board with the MCU as what they once were. So this was them hitting the panic. This was them hitting the panic button, the break glass in case of emergency button. That's what this was. And they did it with Chris Evans. Well, we'll talk about Deadpool later.
Yeah.
But that's all. That's what this was. It's, like I said, it's uninspiring, to say the least. It is. I'm trying to think how to say this. I'm.
Let it fly, bro.
The one time I'm ready to give Marvel credit, and this happened. So I'm just, we can go on to something else. I'm just a little fed up.
Yeah, okay. Nah. So we'll see. We'll see how things look. I'll wait for a trailer. I'm sure there's gonna be like more, like leaks and stuff. But again, Mikhail, I know you don't gamble, but if you would indulge me, I ain't gonna hold you, homie.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck a movie. I need to see the documentary of Phase 4, the entire Phase 4.
I would love to see that personally. Like I think the book they released recently gave some pretty good insights into things.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting about that. Okay, so I'll go check that out. But I think a documentary would be good too. Like, put it on Disney Plus. I will sit down and watch, because this behind the scenes stuff, I knew they were scrambling, man. I know Kevin Feige was sweating his balls off the moment the verdict dropped. I know he was sweating like crazy when Chadwick passed. So it's going to be interesting. But you know what? We'll see. Avengers 5. I think I'm more excited for Secret Wars than I am this. I think this is just them trying to see what they can do to, hold folk over. But we'll see how it all goes. But let's not waste any more time, y'all. We really here to talk about arguably one of the greatest one of the best comic book movies of all
You're
time.
killing me.
Deadpool Wolverine.
You know, I know before you get into, I'm just gonna say the positive. All right, I know I'm gonna say a bunch of shit about this movie that is terrible.
Wait,
You know,
let's start off with initial thoughts. Then we'll go into the actual thing.
Okay, good. Initial thoughts. I expected 0%. I got 1%. Okay, so yay! I didn't. Fuck off. Go on. We'll get into it later.
Damn, I was expecting a little more. You had more to say.
I have a lot to say, but you said initial thoughts.
Okay, all right, fine.
I expected nothing. I got like a little tiny sliver, like it's like if you're drowning and you get like a little drip of like a little pebble of water, like a little drizzle. That's it.
Okay, all right. Mikhail, go ahead, brother.
I liked it. I thought it was not bad. I thought it was the weakest. Yeah, no, really. I love
the way you phrased that. I thought it was not bad.
Yeah. No, really, because my expectations were kind of all over the place, really. It was sort of like I could very easily see this being a complete and utter disaster on the level of, say, Origins or Apocalypse. Like for me, those are at the bottom. Those are the D rank films, in my X-Men rankings. This one is a C level. And by which I believe it is like a 6 out of 10. It's like and I like to give 10s. S for me is like a 10 out of 10, and I, give those for what I consider to be great or near great movies. And this one I thought was not bad. Worst Deadpool movie, but also, not bad.
Okay. AJ, go ahead. Initial thoughts.
It was fine. It wasn't as good as, definitely not as good as the first one. I don't remember much of the second Deadpool, so I'll have to rewatch that to compare.
That's a masterpiece.
Like I said, I got to rewatch. That movie has kind of been memory hold for me, so I'll check it out sometime this week to compare. Probably by far the strongest thing the MCU has done since I want to say Multiverse of Madness, so that's at least a plus for it. Like I said, I haven't been the biggest fan of their recent offerings, so I halfway enjoyed myself with this. The highlights of it for me were A, the opening, and B, Channing Tatum's Gambit, which we'll talk more about later.
Okay,
Gambit deserves a spinoff.
I have a lot to say about Gambit because I think that he is secretly the only good part of this movie.
We'll get to that.
There's stuff I appreciate about this movie. But aside from that, I think Gambit is secretly the best part of this movie, and just on a whole different level that I don't think the movie even realizes. Okay. But yeah,
I like other things about the movie, but I totally agree that he's the best part of it.
I wanted to start off positive, but
hold on. Let AJ finish. Let AJ finish.
I mean, it's just one more thing, and then I'm done. And I think Ryan Reynolds is going to prove to be very prophetic when he says that, hey, they're going to keep you around until you're 90, Jackman, because you've seen it now. The Fox universe is quote unquote back, but that sets us up perfectly for what event they have coming up. Secret Wars, that's right. So that should be fun.
All right.
Hold on. I want to give my initial thoughts. I had fun with the movie. I thought it was cool. Again, this was when I go to the movies nowadays, I just want to have a good time. I had a good time with this. I laughed, I chuckled. And I know that the thing is, this is the best movie since blah blah blah. Honestly, the last MCU movie that I enjoyed was fucking Captain Marvel 2. I liked Captain Marvel 2.
That's good. It's like a masterpiece. This can't compare to this.
Yeah, so I like Captain Marvel 2, so it's good that at least
characters.
Yeah, at least I have another movie within that time frame that I could say I enjoy as another movie that I could say I enjoy. So this was good. This was fun. It's no secret. I think the chemistry between these two motherfuckers are great. But yeah, it's good. Like it's good. Is it bombastic? No, by any means, no. But did I have a good time? Did I laugh? And this movie did something that I was I didn't feel like I was being beat over the head with some multiverse shit.
Really?
I didn't feel I was being beat over the head. Like
were you blindfolded?
No, well, also you gotta remember too. There's a lot. I'm not in tune with the MCU, so I'm basing this off of somebody that's kind of coming in blind.
So you were blind.
Yeah, I'm coming into this kind of blind. There's a lot of context I haven't watched Loki. I'll be honest. I haven't seen Loki season 1, season 2. I just know who the TVA is, who they do. But if I'm basing this off of just like a regular average person, I had a decent time. I had a good time. And also, before we continue, I do want to acknowledge some people. Tevia, thank you for coming on. Brother, I got you. Don't worry. I got you for a future live stream. We got Mark in the building. We got Perp in the building. We got KJ, Akuma in the building. Thank you all for showing up. And Mark, we'll get to you. Your question is important.
All right,
we can start with that.
I'll answer this question immediately. Let's
go. Do we count as MCU?
I do not count it as MCU because I wanted to start off positive. I know I said the 1% thing, and Mark took offense to that, but I wanted to start off positive. But Ro was like, "Yeah, show your initial thoughts," so I had to include what I felt. So that 1% is that I expected this to just be really disregarding of the X-Men universe, the film franchise. I really so I was pleasantly shocked that it kind of felt like, okay, no, it's trying to be a compromise and trying to show a good little bookend, a sense of closure to that film franchise. And so it is firmly trying thematically on paper, conceptually being this is the making a line in the sand for the X-Men film franchise. So it is, I frame it as an X-Men movie, a part of the X-Men series. But that is a double-edged sword. Because it is maybe almost the absolute fucking worst one. If X-Men 3 did not exist, this would be the worst one. And I'm going to say it. Even though I say there are X-Men movies I don't like, and I'm a big X-Men film franchise booster, I think it was a great series. Ups and downs, highs and lows, what have you. It was varied. It always tried new things, and it was very creative. You can't say that they tried you can't say they tried the same thing over and over again. Every movie of that series, not every minute, is a swing in some kind of direction. So, and this, I think, this is a swing. This takes actual swings, and again, I appreciate that. Conceptually, in theory, okay, but I felt insulted 90% of the way through, and I think that it is just horrendously misguided, thematically incoherent, and I feel like it doesn't know what it wants to say, and the stuff that it does feel like it wants to say is really degraded and deflated and just diminished by also wanting to be a big epic multiverse MCU kind of film. I feel like there's a version of this where you strip out everything. I think strip out everything, and it is a stronger film because it has more time, like the other Deadpool movies do, where they have very simple plots, but they are focused just dead center, hard target character work into those plots. The first one is about Deadpool's insecurities and his self-loathing with regards to his girlfriend. The simple plot, it's just an A and B, find that guy plot. It's not something heavy, but the fact that it's so small allows the story and Ryan Reynolds and all the writers and directors really to just sort of really make it a really round out, really satisfying character piece. Same thing with Deadpool 2. It's a little bit larger, but there's a central thing about fatherhood, just Deadpool and this kid. Now there's things that are ancillary to that, but Deadpool and that kid, Hot Hands, right? Or Fire Hands, whatever. The thing that the replacement for Genesis or Kid Apocalypse, right? In that movie, it's all very centered around that. It's all very focused. Of course, some funny set pieces, humor, all that kind of stuff. But it is very just very, very dead center to it. Like you have Juggernaut. Juggernaut is like this big, like huge cameo, but even he serves a purpose to that theme because he's played by Ryan Reynolds. He's like a surrogate father figure. It's like, you know, the mirror image of Deadpool. Like they're contrasting to each other, and it is like that works. It works really well. Then you have Deadpool and Wolverine, Deadpool 3, what have you, and it's like everything about it, from the humor to like the set pieces, it just works against the story. Like everything in this like works against what the story is trying to say, and like I felt like for every one scene where like, okay, this is the theme, like this is the core emotional journey of the story. There's like 10 other scenes that are like, well, that doesn't work, and that is pointless, and that is not very funny, and that is also kind of like in contrast to it. So like, what is this movie trying to say at all anyway? And it feels like this, if you took all the stuff that actually had something to say, you would get like a 10-minute movie.
Okay. All right. What about you, AJ? What do you think? Do you count this as MCU movie? You know, answering Mark's question pretty much. What do you think?
It's heavier. It's weighted heavier on the Fox end, right? So, but you have obviously MCU elements in it. The one of the bigger ones being, aside from the TVA, is the sling ring from Doctor Strange. So, and of course the giant Ant-Man. The giant man that she's living in. I'm gonna go with more so on the no end, but we know all of this is gonna be incorporated into the MCU. So I almost feel like it doesn't matter what I count it as. They're telling us what they're gonna do with it. So that's pretty much where I come out on it. But no, it's more of a I can't remember which one of you said it, but he said it was more like an epilogue to the Fox universe, and I think that's an apt way to put it.
Okay, Mikael.
So, you know, I think it faints towards being an MCU film. It obviously has like those trappings, right? In terms of its style and like the so-called scale of it, although probably could have done with a budget by like $100 million less, honestly. You know, it kind of is an MCU movie, but I feel a lot of that is more, you know, it's more of a feint. It's more of a disguise. It's more of like, you know, set dressing or whatever it's called. So in that sense, it's like about a guy who wants to so desperately be in the MCU because that's what he thinks will make him matter. And ultimately, it's like he realizes, no, wait a minute, I love the Fox universe. Like, I wouldn't give that up. And it becomes more about, like, you know, preserving like the Fox universe, being satisfied with what you have and where you came from in a way. At least that's one of those things that it's trying to do. Maybe it doesn't do it super successfully, but
I mean, yeah, you got it, man. Again, that's the sliver of an idea that I love. Like, okay, like I was hoping for it. I got it. I can't completely hate it. Like I when people say like that it's soulless, like I don't really agree with that. I do think it comes from a place of love. I just went on a rant about it, but I do think it comes from a place of love. Does that make it a love letter? I don't agree with that whatsoever.
Yeah. I also don't agree. I don't call it a love letter. I see it as like a. I want to use my words very lightly here. I see it as a decent attempt to be an epilogue to the Fox universe, because obviously, you know, they don't have all not everything is available for them to play with clearly in this movie. Whatever they could grab is whatever they could grab, and I think they made it work as best as they could. So, and the MCU stuff, and that's just like sprinkled in there. I do agree that, you know, yes, this can feel a little bit bloated with the MCU stuff. I do agree, but also at the same time, like I said, it's nothing where I feel like it was a little too extreme. Because for me, I'll be honest with you, it felt more like a Fox movie more than it felt like an MCU movie to me. And that's what it felt like. So, you know, I do like the fact that, you know, they pulled from, you know, they pulled whoever they could, you know, from the other movies. But I also feel like, you know, they didn't take away too much. Like they were used very sparingly, at least in my opinion. You know, so for me, this kind of almost felt like another, what was it? What's that fucking movie called? The Doctor Strange one, Multiverse of Madness.
You know, I'm gonna drop a hot take. I'm gonna drop the hottest take. And I haven't seen this take yet. Okay, I'm gonna drop it right now. The only cameo should have been Gambit. Everyone else, you could get rid of them and you would lose nothing. And if you only had Gambit, the message of the movie becomes stronger. You get rid of Chris Evans, get rid of Jennifer Garner, get rid of Wesley Snipes. You know, get rid of all of them. Honestly, get rid of the guy who played Pyro.
What about X-23?
Get rid of X-23. Okay, because she shouldn't even be in this movie with the plot it has. No, you do, because why the fuck is she in the void? I feel like that degrades like the arc and look. People are like, oh, this doesn't like hurt Logan, but I feel like it's kind of weird, right? Does anyone agree with me? It feels kind of weird that Logan is like a passing the torch movie. Like he gives his life to save the next generation, and then you have the void where people's kind of forgotten mistakes go, and X-23 is there for some reason. Like, what the fuck is that about? Like, why is that? Like, what's the thematic purpose of that?
Okay, she is there because she was supposed to get her own movie and it was canceled.
Okay, then why isn't Deadpool?
Oh, that was official?
That's the meta.
But then why isn't Deadpool there?
Well, because Okay, so Deadpool is. Wait.
Let him finish. Let him finish. Go ahead, Mikhail. Finish.
No. I'm just saying one of the ideas is that the people who show up in the void are everybody whose stories were cut off, right? Whose stories were canceled, whose movies were, you know, like they went into development hell. Like the void is literally development hell, you know? And X-23 was supposed to get her own movie. She was supposed to be like the new Wolverine, sort of, right? And then it's like, because of all the behind the scenes stuff, that never happened. So that's the metatextual reason of why she's in the void. Now,
Deadpool should be there.
Now, plot-wise, she is the one who convinces Wolverine to finally, you know, like let go of his, you know, pain, his like torture, to finally open up about all of that. And
so look, that's what I mean. I mean, like, I think that X-23 would have been fine in this movie, just not with the plot that it has, because that scene could have just as well happened in the normal X-Men universe that they go back to, like at the end. You know, they could have just had that scene where they go back to the X-Men universe after escaping from the void, and he meets X-23 there. Okay, why the fuck is she in the void? Again, you explained to me the meta context of that, but I don't see why the void is necessary either. I don't see like why the Loki stuff is even in this film at all. Honestly, you could have a very similar plot without having that kind of weighted baggage to it. Because I agree. I agree what you're saying, that's like how the void works in me, but it's not how the void works in like Loki. So you kind of have to make that switch anyway. So, and it even mentioned like that the TVA doesn't even care about Deadpool at all. So like, why even bring all this baggage? It's like you have to make excuses for the film. I think. I do think
no, they do care. They care about him specifically, right?
Yeah, but I feel like they but they don't care about like him messing around. So like, why is the void even a factor at this point?
I think for me, I do again. I am happy we're having this conversation because this did give me some more knowledge that I didn't have. Because for me, I had no idea that an X-23 movie was in development.
Really?
When it comes to Blade, my understanding was that, you know, they did the Blade. Hold on, let me finish.
I didn't finish my thought though, because you said the X-23 thing. I just want to finish my little thought here about why Gambit is the only one that should be there. Because like, okay, so one of the big things about the film is like, okay, giving closure to like some of these things. They mentioned that the rebels in the void mentioned that.
Jennifer Garner was like, I'm sorry, but like I was like, oh my god, that's actually kind of, you know, there's something there. She wants closure. She wants an epic ending. Like she never got her story, right?
Yes,
that was
like,
great.
Who gives a fuck about giving Elektra an ending?
I gotta fight back. No, time out. I gotta fight back against that. No, time out.
Let me finish that, because why?
I gotta fight back.
No. Let me finish. Let me finish.
I gotta fight.
Let me finish. I need to put an addendum to that. Who gives a fuck about giving Elektra epic ending as a side character in a Deadpool movie where she fights like random stunt doubles of characters that also existed. Like, how is that a fitting ending for Elektra? How is that a fitting ending for Blade? And like, again, this is why I feel like with all these multiverse movies, including The Flash, we're like, okay, we got to kind of bring these people back for no reason, just because they're recognizable, and then we can just kill them off or like have them like off screen somewhere. And like, I don't feel like, what is the purpose and power of that? Like, okay, it's like, oh, Wesley Snipes played Blade for 3 movies, and now we can see him fight random nobodies in Limbo in a Deadpool movie. That's also a spin-off to Loki. Like, I don't like, where is, like, maybe show him fighting some fucking vampires or something like that. I don't know. Like, where is the purpose? Like, okay, how is this like a proper, like, epic final closure for Blade? How does that work?
All right. Listen, I'm gonna give you a little bit of
pushback. Elektra had an ending. It's the ending of her movie.
Okay, I'm gonna give.
Watch
hold on,
the
time
movie.
out.
Watch the Elektra movie. That's what the ending is.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of pushback, right?
Go
because ahead. You get it. Who cares? Whatever. Again, I can also see the other side of it too, because like, listen, as quote unquote bad as those movies are, I think there's still people still have a reverence for them.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned, people were in your theater, like clapping and all that. Like, listen, I watched this shit on bootleg, okay? And I heard I heard the motherfuckers clapping shit all the, because I understand.
That's why you like it, because you didn't pay for it.
Hold on. Again, let me finish. I think there is a reverence for those movies, and I think that's fine. I think it's cool. Like, I think it's cool that like all of a sudden, like, people forgot about these characters for the longest time. I think people never forgot about Blade, but like, people forgot about Elektra. People forgot about the Gambit thing. Like, I think
who forgot about the Gambit thing? He never showed about
Let me finish.
No one forgot about the Gambit.
Let me finish.
You didn't let me finish. I'm still not done. I didn't even get back to what I was trying to say about Gambit.
Let me finish. I think in general there is a reverence for those movies, so that's why I understand it. I get it. It doesn't have to make the much sense like in this big thing, but for me, I get it. There's a reverence for these movies. I can easily see why people were excited. I can easily see the meta context. It was like, yes, they want a big ending. I don't know if there was ever going to be a Deadpool 2 movie planned in that. I don't know that. I don't know if there was ever going to be a Blade 4 or whatever. Like I said, we mentioned the Gambit stuff, but to see them come back, especially in that way, and for me, like I said before, I don't think it took away from it. I can see this as being a good ending. I can easily watch. I can see.
Yes, you watch Elektra and then watch her season here. Perfect narrative. You're right.
Here's again when you don't put too much brain power into it, because again, I don't think
I hate that reasoning.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Brain power.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
I can easily see this being a No Way Home type situation, right? Where, okay, you watch the Tobey Maguire movies, Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, and then you watch No Way Home. You watch the Andrew Garfield movies, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man 2, you watch No Way Home. You watch Blade 1, 2, 3, and then you watch Deadpool 3. For me, that's how I see it. As for me, is it a little wonky? Sure, but is it cool that at least when it comes to No Way Home and when it comes to something like this where you can kind of put like you can insert certain movies into like their timelines or whatever? Sure, I think that's fun. I think that's cool. That's me. All
right. But okay, so let me get back to my point, which is the Gambit. I'm trying to say about Gambit, okay? The reason I feel like Gambit is the only one that should have been a cameo in here, because he's the only one that actually works to service, Deadpool's story. And I'm not quite sure if the movie even realizes this, but Gambit and Channing Tatum and Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool, like, they are pretty much like counterparts to each other. Like they're both in the same situation. Like, Deadpool was a movie that was never going to happen until like Ryan Reynolds, who was always like a big booster for that film, right? Like, he made it happen. Like, he never stopped believing in that film. you know, and then you have Channing Tatum, who was like insanely in love with the idea of Gambit as a film, and he was really dedicated to the character. He kept boosting for that movie even after like the Disney sale happened. He was like always like Gambit, you know. So I feel like that's only one where it's like, you know, you kind of like, it's a great bookend to Deadpool, where like you have Deadpool who was like this kind of like this origin. The origin of that movie was this actor who just finally gets a shot at it. And then you have this great bookend where you have like Deadpool now giving that exact same chance in the exact same scenario to this other actor and character. And I feel like if you just have that, that's something that is just like really, I honestly think accidentally like fertile kind of thematic ground. I think that helps sell this as like a nice closure to the X-Men film franchise, because like it's full circle almost. And at the end of the day, I feel like I would rather him get like 3 times the screen time than have to share it with Blade, who doesn't need to be in here, honestly, or Elektra, who doesn't need to be in here, honestly, or Chris Evans, who doesn't need to be in here, honestly.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can I please talk about why I love all of the cameo characters in this movie?
Go ahead.
In response, it's just, look, so to me, maybe with the exception of Blade, there is obviously this sort of meta narrative about Fox, right? And I think it's very fitting that pretty much, with the exception of Blade, pretty much all of the multiverse guest stars are all Fox characters. You know what I'm saying? Like they are like, you know, you've got so you get Johnny Storm rather than Captain America, right? You get Elektra, you know, like from the you get like the old school Fox Elektra rather than the Netflix Elektra, right? You get like and you get Gambit, you know, who was basically who was going to be a Fox thing for a while, and for one reason or another, that like never happened, right? So for me, it really contributes to that idea, right, of the fact that, okay, the Fox, you know, universe, okay, like it matters. It had characters, right, like who had, you know, like who had these like franchises and everything, and like they all matter, and it, you know, like, you know, they all matter. They're worth preserving. You know, they're worth saving. They're worth giving like one less time to shine on screen. And I love also that these characters, they do have bigger roles than just cameos. Like, you know, so they kill off Johnny Storm, right, early on, you know, to show how powerful Cassandra Nova is, all that stuff, right? And that might have been just a throwaway gag, but they actually make that into a plot point. And that, and it's like a recurring thing. Like, you know, Wolverine is constantly calling out Deadpool, you know, you got this guy killed. And then that comes up when they meet like all those other, you know, leftovers, right? Mm-hmm. And then even like at the end, like the post-credits scene, right? It even brings us back to Johnny Storm and shows that, hey, wait a minute, no, the Johnny Storm really did like, you know, he went like on a full-blown, you know, like, and I thought it was actually a very funny scene. He went on a full-blown profanity-laden rant and said, you can quote me on that. Well, Deadpool did quote him, and, you know, so it's like, and he's like, I'm tired of people saying that I lied, and okay, here's my proof, you know. And I thought, okay, that was like a great joke. And I think it's telling that, again, it was a very self-contained, you know, that was like bringing back that idea, right? Like rather than setting up another movie, you know, and I thought that was really nice, right? But to me, it's like, so all of these characters, they do service that larger idea about, you know, Fox being worth preserving, right? They do service, and they do help. They do service the Deadpool and Wolverine story. Like they know in a way they're going out there to die, but they're going to go out like, they're going to go out fighting. Maybe they're fighting a bunch of, you know, random guys or whatever, but, you know, it's still kind of cool. Like, you know, the way they shot that fight, that action sequence. Okay, I like that action sequence. And, you know, you get to see them be badasses on screen, right? Like one more time. I mean, okay.
I agree. Yeah. You know, but I feel like outside of Gambit, you could have switched any of the other ones, any other Fox characters, and it would not have mattered. That's why I like Gambit. I feel like Gambit is the only one that actually has like a sort of inadvertent like emotional tether to this film.
I think part of it is that Gambit is easily the funniest, you know, like the funniest. He has like the funniest stuff, right?
Well, that's true. And I gotta say, you know, it really is very apparent that Channing Tatum has spent like the last 8 years practicing that voice.
He did.
Like goddamn, like my only. Okay, so this is a nitpick. I know people in the comments are saying I'm nitpicky. No, this is actually my only nitpick. Okay. That is not the kind of suit that he would have gone in an X film. That is not. Sorry, that is an MCU style suit. Okay, like from Multiverse of Madness, he would have not gone that kind of suit. It should have been a little bit more dressed down. That's my only. It's my only nitpick. That's everything else is good. Everything else,
more black leather, less yellow, less spandex.
He would have been like in a more classy version of what Taylor Kitsch wore.
You know what? I like the suit, but I think we could have whatever that was on his face, like the head part of it. I think we just get rid of it. Get rid of it. I thought
but
the suit was
funny.
I get
funny.
it.
He looks like so oversized. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
it looks like an action figure. That's what it looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
okay,
but I thought that
see
was like part of the joke. He is so over the top, right? Like, and I mean, there's no way we could have gotten that Gambit like in a PG-13 X-Men movie. You know,
but again, it feels like a compromise. But again, I appreciate it. I do, and I think that if you want to make sense of it, you know, maybe concept art. Maybe he looks like concept art. You know, like because he does have that weird kind of defined chest that you kind of see like in Photoshop concept art where like it's airbrushed and kind of stuff like that. So I could, you know, but again, I love Gambit. I think that he is the secret heart of this film. You know, when Deadpool and Wolverine was first announced, I'm like, they gotta get Channing Tatum in there. You know, like that's it. That's the only thing I want to see. I don't care about what happens with the TVA. I don't care what happens with Marvel. I don't care what happens with Hugh Jackman. I only want to see Channing Tatum get his time to shine. I'm glad they did.
If they can't do a full-blown Gambit spin-off after this, then maybe they'll do a Deadpool and Gambit movie. Because honestly,
they should
listen.
That would be great.
You cooking with gas?
Oh no! Here's it. Just a reboot, like redo the X-Force as a concept film, but this time like make it kind of Exiles-ish. You know, it's Deadpool, Gambit, and this Wolverine. You know, having fun in like multiverse. You know. Let's do an Exiles riff, okay? Let's do that.
But you know what? Let's since we're talking about it, like, how do we feel about this Wolverine? I was gonna be honest, when I first heard about this movie, I think Elvis Elvis had our first initial conversation.
Yeah.
I was worried. I think maybe we were worried that they would undo Logan.
They did, though.
Well, this is not. This is
not.
Logan.
No. So I understand that, but now there is a new Wolverine in the XCU,
yeah.
and who is like
it's now a different timeline.
But now Laura is kind of again. This is what I mean. Like I'm gonna bring this back, but before you interrupted me, both of you. But like now. Like again, it's weird how this movie treats Laura, how this movie treats X-23, because again, it was passing the torch thing, and now it's like, okay, nope, the torch has been ripped back, and like that's weird because I feel like again, I mentioned this to some other people on my Twitter threads and some mutuals of mine, where it kind of feels like it would have been much more emotionally resonant if it was like if there's like maybe the movie was a bait and switch. Again, I hate to doing this. Like this movie wasn't exactly like this. I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like it would have been much more emotionally resonant if like halfway through the film, this Wolverine dies and X-23 is the one that escapes with Deadpool out of the void, and she becomes the Wolverine of the title. Because again, I thought that was actually going to set up where it's like, oh, and then this movie, this universe needs an anchor being, and it needs to be a Wolverine, and so he goes try to find a Wolverine, and then he meets Laura. Like, well, Laura is a Wolverine, in the comics, and she got the past torch and all that. I feel like that would have, that would have made more sense, because again, that way you keep Logan like actually kind of important to the universe, this timeline. And I feel like just kind of plugging and playing Wolverine and just having like Laura be a psychic again in the main universe, in the main X-Men universe, it just feels kind of overly saccharine. I feel like, again, like I know like this isn't the regular Wolverine, but it's like Beer Fest. You've seen Beer Fest where like and like there's a joke in Beer Fest where like one of the characters dies, you know, and then like you suddenly meet his twin brother who's like, you know what, just call me by his name, and give me his house and his family, and you know, just never mention my brother again. It feels like that. Or like, I know it's not the same guy, really, and I get it, but you just functionally just done the same thing again.
Yeah,
and I think it does weaken Logan. It doesn't weaken it, like it doesn't ruin Logan. Well, Logan exists as a film, obviously, but it's like in the context of the film, like, you know what, it would have been better if this guy had died.
Yeah, go ahead, Mikael. Go ahead, Mikael.
No, I just want to respond. Well, so why I don't agree with that? For one thing, if that had happened, you know, if Wolverine had died right there in the middle of the movie, then his relationship with Deadpool, that arc that they have, that he ultimately does come to appreciate him, you know, there's that moment of it, not super convincing, I'll admit, but at the end, right, like his whole thing is, okay, you made an estimated wish, whatever, okay, like I get you now, you know, like that whole thing. It's like his arc in a way is to come, you know, he has to come to appreciate Deadpool, you know, on a certain level, to the point where it's like, okay, they are, you know, like they're gonna do this thing together, right? Like that whole like, you know, like I kind of like how the whole idea of like saving all of reality or whatever, it's almost like a joke. It's almost like it's just an excuse for these two to like, okay, let's go into action together and we'll, you know, whatever happens next, you know, we've got like unity, you know, we're like united, and like, you know, like so I just thought, okay, all of the problematic like plot points and all of the weird progression that it took to get there, I'm like, I thought that part, you know, where you know, it's like he comes in at the last moment and like, you know, uses his claws, and they do the Guardians of the Galaxy thing where they share the load of the power, you know. I thought that was solid. I thought that was,
I mentioned it, like that would have been a really good moment if this movie was good. And if Wolverine was an actual character in this movie, that would have been great.
I think for me, I think what you pitched was an interesting angle. And for me, I thought this Wolverine was cool. And again, I'm very happy. I'm really happy that, you know, this isn't the Logan universe, whatever it is. I know it's the same actor, and I know there's always going to be that reference, and there's always going to be that like attachment. I think that's just how our brains are wired. But again, I am happy that, you know, it's cool to see him there. Personally, for me, I kind of will keep the same energy as before. Like, yeah, would I have preferred Hugh Jackman not come back? Period. Yeah, I 100% I would have preferred that. I would have preferred. I like things. I think I say plenty of times on this podcast, or just plenty of times like on my channel. Like, I like when things are done. Like, there's finality. And I think even before we even got this announcement, I had just watched Logan for the first time. Like, literally a couple months before we got the announcement of Deadpool Wolverine, I watched Logan. So I was just like, oh, you know what? If this motherfucker never dons the suit again, or if he never comes back, I'm okay with that. And then to see it happens, like, okay, cool, it's a good moment. But also at the same time, I get why, you know, money, blah, 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 blah. But if I'm judging based off of this performance, and, you know, I take off the fact that it's Hugh Jackman, the fact that it's a Wolverine that actually fucked up, and he has to deal with the ramifications of like fucking up and trying to make things better, I do like that. I do appreciate that. And also, I do like I said before, remember, like I just said, you can plug and play, you know, certain movies together. I also like the idea of, if I can just watch Logan and I could say, fuck Deadpool Wolverine, I still have my Logan story. I like that too.
No, I agree. Like Logan exists, but just counterpoint what you said, like about making things better. But like, I feel like also undercut by Wolverine staying in the XCU. You know, I feel like it would have been more resonant for his character to go back to his universe and show that he's learned, and that he's going to use those principles, what he's learned, like what he's developed as, to you know, this new personality, this new outlook on life, to help fix stuff on his world. You know, I feel like it's just so saccharine. Like, okay, now it's so saccharine now. Like it undercuts itself. I think that would have been a lot more interesting and satisfying for this character for what he is, because it's like, okay, he just gets to run off to get a blank slate.
I mean,
yeah, he learned, he grew, yes, but it's still, you just got a blank slate.
Well, I do want to ask this question because I mean, we don't know. We know there's a X-Men. There's X-Men stuff coming, so it's safe to assume this guy is Hugh Jackman's gonna be the lead in that, right? So technically speaking, well, actually no, because it's timelines don't mix up. So never mind. I want to ask that question.
Go ahead.
So I want to, yeah. So look, first of all, I want to say I really like Hugh Jackman in this movie. I know that not all of the stuff with Wolverine maybe adds up to a completely unified whole, but I think he has some great dramatic, like dramatic stuff going on here. And one thing I really appreciate is that, they do have that Wolverine montage, where he's going across the multiverse to find a new Wolverine. And the one guy who actually goes with him is like loser Wolverine. Like they're both kind of, a lot of these characters, well, they're like the loser superheroes in a way, the ones that end up in the way. It's fitting that, loser Wolverine is the one who ends up going with Deadpool. And
conceptually it's great.
His whole thing is that okay, yeah, so at least conceptually, right? And I like that this is a Wolverine who, like his biggest thing ultimately is that he betrayed everything that Charles Xavier believed in. At least that's how I read it. Like his whole thing is that he went on a killing spree, murdered a bunch of innocent people, and so turned humankind even more so. Like he really doomed mutant kind in a way in his world. That's how I read it. So my take on it is that towards the end is that he will go back home. Like he's just stopping by because like he's having like a moment, like he already said, no, I don't think we'll see each other again. I mean, who knows, right? But my take on that is that no, he now has to go back to his world, face the consequences. The TVA can't fix it, but he's sort of managed to let go of his pain, like overcome like his, trauma or something like that. He's sort of healing, right? And sort of he can go back. And I don't think he's the anchor being in this universe. I don't think they ever confirmed that. My take on it was that Deadpool became, like through this whole series of events, like the new anchor being.
Yeah, no, I read it that way too. I just feel it's weird that ends on that note where he's there and then like, Laura's his sidekick. Like again, it's just weird to me.
Yeah.
It's just weird. But again, I think it was apparently pretty much implied that Deadpool is new anchor being because like this is his movie. It's like it is the last vanguard of the universe. Like metatextually, he's the anchor being, and so I thought that it was pretty subtle, and I loved the subtlety because again, people like, oh, you gotta judge Deadpool 1 and 2 by the same metric. No, like those are as brash those movies are. Deadpool 1 and 2 have some really subtle shit going on, and so I appreciate the subtlety of that. In the finale of this, the implication of that, I did like it because that the finale of this is one of the worst things I've ever seen compared to the Flash.
And I also to piggyback off of that too, because it's like I think at this point, we can expect this Wolverine to be around for like a little bit because like we said, Feige pretty much said we're not recasting Wolverine anytime soon. So I do like the idea of like this guy just like sticking around. Maybe he'll pop up in like Secret Wars or whatever. And then I do like the idea of it being like, what, we don't know what Secret Wars is gonna. We don't know how that's gonna affect everything. But even if it doesn't do anything major, I do like the fact that this guy's gonna get some more experience. He came from a world where it was him and just mutants. That went to shit. Now he's here with Deadpool fucking around. He's probably going to come across other heroes that's going to help him learn and build even more. And then at the end of it all, hopefully it's be like, hey, bro, hey, it was nice. Let me go back here. Let me go see what I could do. I like that storyline more. And again, we don't know what they're going to do with the XCU. I don't know how involved he'll be.
I'm glad that it's like this again.
Yeah, we don't know how involved he'll be in the future of the X-Men franchise for the MCU, but I do like the fact that there's some kind of story that may continue to help him progress to either that or have him go back home wherever he is. Because this is like Mikhail said, this is a loser. This is a guy who fucked up. He's a drunk. You know, my man's is bad. So I like that.
All Wolverines are alcoholics.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I feel like AJ, you know, you've said our piece, the three of us, but you go ahead. Well, I know you've been stewing and brewing.
I mean, I'm trying. Shit. The question was, what? How did we?
Yeah, how feel about
this,
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
The ending and this Wolverine and how it affects Logan. It was a little more hopeful than I initially thought it would be, right? Because when you learn, hey, they're all dead, right? Your mind automatically goes back to Logan, well, Wolverine and Logan after all the X-Men are dead. Obviously, he wasn't the one who killed them, but he's kind of fucked in the head, right? So your mind goes to, okay, is that going to be this guy's mentality going on? But over the course of the film, him and Wade, they have their moments where they butt heads, but he kind of gets to a moment where, hey, he's a little more hopeful, right? And you knew this was coming with this song choice, Bring 'Em Out and everything, like you knew it was coming, right? But the moment where he gets out of the minivan, the back, to join the fight, like get back in it. It's cheesy. Yeah, this isn't the greatest use of Logan that I've ever seen before, but I did kind of like, okay, he's deciding, hey, I'm gonna be a hero this one time. I'm gonna do, quote unquote, the right thing. Now this is before they know, hey, what the right thing is gonna entail, right? So after they have their hash out with Cassandra Nova, they get to back to Wade's Earth, and then they have the all the shit at the TVA. I'm skipping over the Deadpool Wars because
I wish the movie had skipped over it as well.
Yeah, like a couple of them were like, okay, fine, I could see some stuff there maybe, but as a whole, no thanks.
It's filler. It's padding.
Yeah, absolutely. But the two of them fighting over, hey, who's gonna make the sacrifice play, right? That's the moment where it's like, okay, this is actually trying to say something here. You've got Logan, who he's like, hey, I fucked up on my world. I'm the reason my world is shit. Let me stop yours from going this way, right? And that's how it looks like it's gonna go. And then Wade pulls his fast one, and then it ends like one of y'all alluded to. It's basically the Guardians of the Galaxy scene at the end, right, where they both have to share in the burden of this thing that's potentially going to destroy them all, right? So seeing Logan be a hero, but also we've seen him be a hero before. I don't want to act like he's
my god
heroic. What's up?
This is the Hercules ending. It's the ending of Hercules.
Shit, I don't remember Hercules. What happened?
Okay, so like we were saying with Mikhail, right? That basically it's pretty much. I think it's clear that Deadpool is the anchor being, right? In Hercules, where it's like, Hercules can't be a hero, can't be a god unless he proves himself to be a god, right? And then like the end of Hercules, right? He sacrifices and dies in order to save Megara, and then that makes it, and that makes him, he makes him immortal, because he can't die. That's the Hercules ending, exactly the same thing. We're like, it's funny. Let
AJ finish.
I mean, it's not too much more. Just the fact that this Logan, he's a loser. He's the reason why mutants are even hated even more in his world after he went off and killed the X-Men. So seeing him make that play, and then seeing Wade, and like this is his way. He's deciding, hey, this is how I'm going to matter, right? It's not, oh, I'm gonna join the universe with what he feels is the A team. I'm not gonna be the big marquee player in the MCU. Going through his head, it's, hey, I'm going to make sure the people that I care about the most, that they can still go on, that their world still survives, right? So the two of them doing that, that's where, no, obviously it doesn't have the weight that the ending of Logan did, right?
Mhm.
But the two of them coming together and doing that, it gave me a little bit of the feel goods. I'm like, okay, you know what? I can rock with this ending. It's saying something. It's not. It might not be super effective in what it's saying, but hey, these are two guys who are essentially fuck ups, and they come out the end better people, but also better heroes. And you know, I can appreciate that.
I mean, like it works for the actors as well. Like I think that the premise is gimmicky, and but I think that again, metatextually on paper, all that is the fact that that works. It's them as well. Like you even see like in the end credits, like behind the scenes montage they do, where like these are the two guys that like their careers are kind of molded by this franchise. Like I don't like Ryan. Like this is I don't think anyone will deny this is like Ryan Reynolds. Like this is the thing he'll be remembered for, and that this is what Hugh Jackman will be remembered for.
Guys,
so it makes sense.
I don't mean to interrupt
together.
you. Can somebody tell me what the end credits were? Because I know Mikhail said the first one. Like I said, I watched this on bootleg. So what was the end credit?
It was a montage of behind the scenes footage from the movies
from the Fox universe, and then but also remember how when Cassandra Nova kills Johnny Storm and Deadpool.
Oh, he already mentioned that.
He's like,
yeah, Mikhail mentioned that.
Okay.
Yeah, so to clarify. Yeah, so to clarify, the Johnny Storm stuff was completely post credits, but during the credits themselves, it's like they shuffle off to the side, and you see a compilation of like I think 20-something years of behind the scenes footage from the X-Men movies. You know, from those documentaries, you know, back on the DVDs, back when DVDs were great. You know,
so this got ruined for me. I actually really like that. Like, you know what? Again, like I do like that it's trying to be a closure. Like it's trying to like close the book on this. I do like that. I appreciate that. Like that is like that's the only thing I wanted. Hallelujah. But this was ruined for me. Someone was like, "Oh man, I love how the shade Deadpool Wolverine did by not showing footage from New Mutants and Dark Phoenix." I'm like, "Oh well, thank you. You ruined that for me because now if that was intentional, this movie's a piece of shit. Ryan Reynolds, you hack." No, because seriously, like that kid, that's intentional. That's a joke, and that's like, that's really kind of mean spirited. But I don't know if it was intentional because I don't think that maybe they didn't feel like they needed to do like Dark Phoenix because of the same cast as the other prequels. I don't know. Maybe that was the thought process. Maybe they didn't have enough good footage for them because, as you mentioned, New Mutants and Dark Phoenix came out like we don't get that kind of B-roll anymore. They don't really do that kind of shit anymore. So I can think of that as well. But I don't know that kind of thing. If that person who commented that, like if that was the intentional joke of that, then that was kind of lame.
Yeah. But what were you saying? Somebody's trying to say something.
I don't think that was intentional because I remember wasn't there some sort of photo right now from 2015 of like the different X-Men casts together, and I think that includes like all of the new. I think that even incled some New Mutants, maybe.
That's right. There was.
Ryan Reynolds posted like that, doing this beginning of the Dark Universe thing. Yeah, because that was back when Fantastic Four was coming out. Yeah, they did that whole spread. So I don't think it was intentional, but like it just weirds me out that like I feel like this isn't as good a love letter as people say it is. With people are like, aha, see, it's cracking some jokes at the expense of this, but no, I feel like it focuses too much for it to be really effective as a love letter. I think that it's trying to be, and I think that it's trying to wear its heart on its sleeve, but I think it wastes too much time with like the minutia of like MCU stuff. Like they would really need a big scene of Happy Hogan explaining the plot.
I was gonna say something to that as well. Part of me does agree because I'll be honest with you. I was okay with 2 Deadpool movies and that being it. And then Deadpool kind of just like appearing, Deadpool just being here in the MCU. I was okay with that idea. Because for me, I think it even took us a long time to even get news about a Deadpool 3. So I was kind of under the assumption, okay, cool. It's going to be another Deadpool movie. And I wasn't really expecting MCU stuff in it, personally for me. So the fact that we got this, I'm not mad at it. But for me, I was okay with 2. And if we were going to get a 3, I was okay with just being condensed in that universe and Would it have been PG-13 or I don't know, but I was okay with 2. I was and a possible third one to close everything up in that this I'm talking specifically Deadpool. I would have been fine with that as well. I would have been fine. I know because he got introduced to the MCU, we had to do all that stuff, but I personally would have been fine with just like one final Deadpool movie to close that story. No Wolverine, no nothing, just Deadpool, those characters, and we can move on. That was I would have been okay with that.
Hey, so can I would really like to respond to that. So one of the things that I really read into was the behind the scenes history of how they got around to doing this Deadpool 3 movie. And it's interesting that there was an early pitch or 2 or however many about it being potentially like almost an indie movie. Almost an indie movie, Rashomon style movie with Deadpool and Wolverine on a road trip. So it was going to be at one point, like at one point, the idea was to make it like really small scale. Now, one of the things that happened with like, once, like, and they made a bunch of pitches to Feige and whatever, and ultimately, it had to be kind of molded to fit like the scope and scale of an MCU film. Now, what that means, of course, is that nowadays, okay, you need to have like bigger stakes and bigger budget and everything, and like and like make it like kind of cosmic and whatever. And I think that's one of the conflicts, inherent conflicts within this film, because it's trying to be both kind of a small scale, personal Deadpool movie, but also it has to work as a like a large scale MCU Disney movie, right? And I think that's where some of the like some of the internal problems arise. It's a film arguably at war with itself, a lot like I think Multiverse of Madness was. That said, I just want to add that I actually really, really liked the Deadpool core sequence.
Oh, well, go ahead.
No, really.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I want
to hear this.
Okay. So one reason why I like it is because it's one of the more, if you will, cinematic sequences in the movie. Right? They film it almost as like a joke,
side scroller.
Yeah, like a side scroller, long take kind of thing, right? Like, and it reminded me of Old Boy. I think Old Boy was one of the, like one of the first movies to really do a fight sequence like that. So I liked just the fact that this was a more ambitious sequence because, most of the movie is very kind of bland, pedestrian. Although I will say, weirdly enough, once they do get to the second half with the others, you suddenly feel almost like a visual uptick.
No.
There's a bit more ambition to the cinematography. Like there's that weird shot of, I think, of a podium or some sort of ancient statue, that's kind of weird and eerie atmosphere. Anyway, so the Deadpool core fight scene is kind of cool. I love the energy of it with the song. And it's got with the song, and it's you see them actually like kind of working like together, fighting side by side. Got the cool action hero shot at the end, but it's also a joke about how completely sometimes like how completely pointless some of the multiverse battles or whatever have been, because he literally, guys, can we stop the multiverse already? And then so they go through this whole thing, and then the joke is all of the Deadpools are still alive, and it's like nothing has, so to me that's like, okay, it is kind of filler, but it does kind of work for the characters in one way. And on the other hand, it's a joke about how, there's a lot of filler with the multiverse stuff.
Right. And I think that would have been a funnier joke if the rest of the movie hadn't been like that. It's kind of like it's kind of like the episode of Bob's Burgers, right? Where like they have like the dinner theater, mystery dinner theater, and it's not good. And then like the wife in Bob's Burgers is like, okay, but it's not good because of this. And like that doesn't make it good. It just makes it like, okay, you're aware of it. Why wasn't it better if you were aware of it? But I will say, I think you're absolutely correct in saying that the Deadpool core fight sequence was the better sequence in the film of Deadpool fight scenes. I'll say. but that's about it, because I don't think that there were the Deadpool stuff. Like there wasn't. It's just visually bland and flat. I'm sorry, but like so much of it is just so flat. Like in terms of composition and in terms of how the scenes play out, it's like they just stuck the camera on a podium, And it's like, and it's such a weird thing. I saw again the day before. I saw Origins. I saw 1. I saw 2. I saw Dark Phoenix. First, because I wanted to see Dark Phoenix. I was like, I'll watch Dark Phoenix. I'm on a roll here. And like, there's a lot of inventiveness going on up there. Again, I think all the X-Men films are like big swings, and I don't think you can really fault all these movies on like a technical level. I know that Origins has really, really bad CGI, and no, the CGI does not hold up. But like in terms of like cam work and choreography and cinematography, like I think a lot of these like really do pop. And then Deadpool Wolverine is like the most like, it does feel like it was like, we're gonna get a camcorder here. It is just like visually uninspired and unambitious. And
I don't know, but speaking of which,
go ahead. Yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we didn't even talk about the fight with him and Deadpool. The 2 fights with him and Deadpool.
I forgot the first one.
The first one was when they were in front of the Fox logo.
That one
the
was
broken down one.
So boring, so boring and flat. Like, what the fuck is this? Second one I liked. In the car. I just think
that one was dope. That one was fun.
I just think it went on too long. Like I guess I get it. It's like foreplay, but like, come on, man. Like you spent like the last 20 minutes, wandering around empty wasteland. Pick up the pace,
I like the car one the most, because it's just like, if they really. Yes, I do agree. Maybe it could have. Maybe it did go a little longer, but I like it because it's like it's two brutal characters with regenerative abilities who are just trying to do their best to just beat the living shit out of each other, and they are condensed in a car. I thought that was dope. And I thought the first one, I thought it was pretty cool too. Nice, fun. There was more open, so they can do a little bit more than. But I thought it was fun, and I'm happy it happened. Because again, like if we didn't have a fight scene, whether it was 1 or 2, I think this movie is even lower when it comes to grading. Because there's no way you can't have these 2 hard-headed motherfuckers not fight. No way.
No, I agree.
I liked both of them. I think I liked I like the second one a bit more. But I think also it was interesting to me that. I couldn't help but wonder, okay, so Wolverine clearly has superhuman strength, right? I'm like, wait, so I know Deadpool is like super athletic and whatever, but is he like also super strong? Because the way he manages to kick Logan around sometimes, like with some of his martial arts moves, I'm like, whoa, wait a second, are they like about equally strong or something? Because we've never really, like, I mean, in terms of power scaling, I was just curious about that. But I think the second one in the car was really cool, in part because it's like Wolverine goes a little too far. Like he's obviously had it up to here with Deadpool's shit, but I think it really does work as a character thing too, because Deadpool is like, he's like so pissed off. He's like, it's like how it's like Wolverine fired a nuclear missile when he mocked Vanessa, right?
Yeah.
And Deadpool's just like, I'm going to fight you now. Oh, he's like, oh yeah, right. And like that moment was great.
Yeah, no, I think like that's one of the few parts where like Deadpool, again, I love the subtleties of that. Like I think that Reynolds is usually really good as Deadpool, like in these films. And I feel like this is kind of his weakest performance because they don't give him a lot to do. And I kind of wonder how much of that is a victim of the writer's strike, Like I feel like I do think he has a great grasp of the character, but then you hear like there's a lot of improv and ad-libbing on these films. So I wonder, like, okay, is this just how these scripts begin before Reynolds like really sort of like kind of works with the scene a little bit more? Because I feel like that's one of the few parts where like, okay, this is like where he's putting some subtle, some understated kind of tones under this, and you get that a lot in the other films. Like I think Deadpool 2 is just kind of really somber. I think that that Reynolds puts a lot of power into his performance in that one, and this one it's just like every line is a gag from him, you know, or like very kind of flat exposition. And
is
I feel
there
like
carryover from the writers from the previous movies?
Yes,
this
like,
carryover, right? Okay.
Yeah, but like now there's like 3 more writers in addition.
Okay.
And so I feel like again, it feels like there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen that each wanted to be funny and didn't leave enough room for a story. Because the first 2 obviously are like gag movies, like, you know, have a laugh a minute kind of thing, right? But those used to seem decorative to the story being told. And in Deadpool Wolverine, it's like, okay, this scene entirely is a joke, and then there's going to be a little sliver of story here and there, you know. And I feel like that balance is off severely. So like, again, I had someone say to me like I don't like Deadpool Wolverine. I think it's one of the worst X movies. And they said to me like, oh, but you have to understand, it's a Deadpool movie. Like that doesn't work because Deadpool 1 and 2 are really genuinely good films. Yeah, and they're smartly written. They're great. They have great performances. You know, and they have lots of and like so. That doesn't work. I'm sorry, but I can't just judge this as a Deadpool movie and like give it some, you know, give some brownie points or whatever. You know.
I mean, well, you bring up a good point though. Now I have to ask this question. So I know we're smack dab in the middle of, you know, this Avengers stuff, you know, Doomsday, Secret Wars, but can we see a scenario where there is another just Deadpool movie after this, or is Deadpool just confined now to just being like the guy that's running around the MCU?
I feel like outside of Secret Wars, it would be betrayal of even this movie to continue on, at least without like a whole recast reboot situation.
I think what you're probably in store for is any team film is going to be like him, you know, just wacky shenanigans, him popping up like, hey, remember this funny guy? Like, I think that's what you're kind of in for. I doubt you'd ever get like a Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe or something from Disney, but like I could see him popping up, being a cameo guy, being haha funny, yada yada yada, and they do that. As far as Deadpool films themselves,
hold on, can you guys hear AJ?
No, he cut off. I see his sound thing going, but I'm not hearing any noise.
Hold on, let me get him out and then put him back in. Hold on. AJ.
Something wrong with your mic. I'm seeing the sound thing.
Yeah, he's moving. Yeah, but it's not coming. Hold on. Yeah. Try again. Damn, because he was on he'll pop right back in. But yeah, you guys want to answer the question before he comes back on?
No, I already answered. I think that, like, you know, the Secret Wars in the end. I feel like this, like, it's even more than Logan, is like a Plan of Sand, like the end. They all lived happily ever after. You know, to like continue on with this would feel like just even more of like, oh, let's roll it back. You know, like, okay. I don't know. Again, you said, like, sometimes things can end, and this is as much of the end as you could get, really.
What about you, Mikhail?
I personally would like to see more of the Fox universe as now its own sort of self-contained little pocket corner universe. You know, maybe with Marvel, with the occasional Marvel reference, but really, I would love it if they could do more with X-23. I would love a Gambit spinoff. I would like to see a Deadpool Gambit movie. I'm not gonna lie. But you know, I suspect maybe the reason why they had that joke about Thor and him, and they actually used footage of Chris Hemsworth that wasn't shot for this film. He himself was surprised. So I have this theory that was maybe a joke, maybe a setup for a Secret Wars appearance for Deadpool, potentially, if they want to go in that direction.
Why wouldn't he be in Secret Wars? I think that like that was just that's implied. I think that like definitely the X-Men stuff is going to be on Battle World, and I think that it would be cool. I know this goes against what I'm saying. It'd be cool to see like some of the actual heavies from the X-Men universe in Secret Wars. You know,
I mean, for me, I'm looking at it as like a monetary thing, because I know, we Elvis made the joke earlier, but this movie is gonna make a shit ton of money. So, and we've seen this plenty of times. Case in point, what's the movie that's about to come out now?
Trap.
Joker.
Oh,
Joker. Joker, right? Joker was a one and done movie. You don't need anything else after that. But because it made a buku amount of money, we now have a sequel. This movie's gonna make, I don't know if it's good. I could see it crossing $1 billion or whatever. This seems to be pretty positive. Like, I can't see Marvel just leaving that there. Like, the good business would be to, let's see what we can. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's hard for me to just see them leave it alone.
I agree. But if that's the case, then I would rather to see them continue the X-Men universe, But that's not the case. So, I mean, like, at this point, just reboot then, I feel like it would be weird, though, to keep Ryan Reynolds, because this is like, I'm not going to leave my family behind. So, again, like, you're at odds and ends here. Yeah. So, like, what is Secret Wars going to do? What is Secret Wars going to be like? Crossing Infinite Earths, where everything is combined together, or is it going to be like Secret Wars, where it's just kind of random and everyone gets to live off happily in their own universe again? Because everyone's assuming it could be like Crossing Infinite Earths, where everything is merged together. Yeah. But like I feel like it's a bit of a rock and hard place. I would love to see the X-Men universe continue. I would love to see like an X-Men universe Gambit Deadpool movie. I feel like they are two peas in a pod. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think like just making a combination movie with them would be really cool, and it would just be
directed by Gore Verbinski.
Yeah, dude, let's get Gore Verbinski back. I would love to see an X-Force movie, as I mentioned, like an X-Styles type X-Men movie. If you want to keep like the MCU stuff, which I really don't, but if you want to do that, then you could like have Exiles be like X-Force. Get X-23 in there, get Wolverine in there, get Deadpool in there, get Gambit in there. You can have like a multiversal kind of X-Men movie that still has tethers to the X-Men universe. But at another point, I would be glad if this was the end of it, because once this all eventually does end, like this series has had like 4 different endings, already.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
How many times are you gonna get the chance to say goodbye? Yeah. And then like I would rather it say goodbye than like, okay, once the MCU finally does implode eventually, like, will that be a satisfying goodbye? And like this one, I'm not gonna say it was satisfying, but at least it did like very much try to be like a flag in the sand, like a line in the sand. I mean, try to plant a flag.
Well, the beautiful thing about stories is they never truly end, do they?
They do.
He's not lying. He's not lying, though. He's not lying.
Anyway, but I guess another thing I want to say is that I feel like there is no reason why the TVA couldn't have just been Mojo World. It could have been Mojo World. Just do it. It should have just been it. I'm sorry, but like I know Ro was like, this thing, but I didn't really notice all the MCU stuff. But like I feel like the TVA is just like it's just so uninteresting. Honestly, like it's just like, oh, we need a Doomsday device, and like we need to do this. Like, who cares? I feel like it's much more. The metaphor is much more interesting and much more relevant, and it's actually much more potent if it's Mojo. And like, okay, I'm saving Deadpool because like,
what do you mean by Mojo? I don't know. What do you mean by Mojo? I don't know.
Mojo and the Mojo world is this alternate dimension which treats the X-Men like a reality TV show, basically. And Mojo is like, oh, you know what? I'm a TV producer on my world. I'm gonna executive produce the X-Men, and so he always tries to manipulate them for higher ratings. And tries to kill them all, like, oh, that guy's unpopular, I'm gonna kill him, that kind of thing,
Okay.
So I think it just makes a lot more sense if it was Mojo, because then you get the metaphor becomes more overt, but in a way that it makes sense, and then you don't have to kind of bend over hoops, be like, oh, the TV is now like this, like you can have Mojo kind of be the one, like, okay, I'm gonna save Deadpool, I'm gonna destroy the X-Men Earth, because they're not popular, and it's because okay, Mojo is the MCU executive producers. He is Disney.
I like that. I like that idea because, again, I mentioned it before when we first started. As somebody that's not too in tune with the MCU, I think I would have understood that even more. Like, luckily enough, I see enough online where I could get a good gist of what the TVA is. But I also see your side where it's like, if it's Mojo World, I think that's a little bit more digestible. If you haven't watched any of the MCU stuff, you can just easily say, oh, this is who I am. I'm a TV producer. I want to destroy that. And to your point, I feel that fits more in line with the Deadpool motive.
And also
the Deadpool story. It
kind of makes more sense to have characters like Elektra and Blade there, because they're actors, and he doesn't care for he has them held up sometimes, Cap.
I like that.
The Void, I feel like it's limbo, it's that way they're not they don't need an ending, they're not forgotten, they were just really they're okay, we're kind of rebooting them, so we gotta hush them to the side. The metaphor, I think, is strained with the TVA stuff, where it's we gotta prune these universes, these timelines. I mean, you kind of have an ingrown X-Men villain that serves the purpose a lot more cleanly,
I really like that. Actually.
I don't know. I don't know. TVA, Television Authority. It's. No, I like them as a metaphor. They're a more clear-cut Disney, stand-in. You know what I mean?
In terms of, yes, it's the Disney side, but the clear-cutness is very again, the Void and everything like that. It's what are we even doing here? When she's everyone deserves a happy ending. I'm sorry, but you were just in one movie, Elektra. I'm sorry. No, what do you mean?
Two. She Daredevil and the Elektra spinoff.
Oh my God, I forgot about that, bro.
So she was in two. Again, I feel like that kind of stuff would.
There's an Elektra spinoff.
Yeah, that stuff would have been a lot more effective if we got epilogues for them, seeing them on their own universes again, in a film, little epilogue scenes.
For all we know, again,
I was surprised they weren't there. I was surprised they didn't do that, because I mean, maybe they filmed them and cut them or something, because they kind of mentioned them at the end. Can we get them back home or something?
You know what?
That would have made perfect sense.
And if it's in the extended cut, then I'll notch this up a point. Okay.
I mean, for all we know, it could be in Secret Wars, because I mean, if we're gonna toss the idea of it being a Crisis on Infinite Earths, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm gonna use the very shitty example of the CW one. We did get epilogues on a lot of things in that shitty Crisis version, so I can easily see a scenario if we're gonna do allegedly a line-wide reboot. Before we reboot, you get a nice little epilogue here. You see Elektra, things properly close in her universe. You see things properly close in Blade's world. You see things properly closed in Gambit's, even though he didn't get a movie. I could see something like that as well. Because again, they did mention at the end of Deadpool Wolverine, it was oh, is there any way we can get these characters back? It's oh, we'll see what we can do. So I could easily see that being the place where they do it. That's just me, though.
Also, but I'm just gonna say it just as a tangent. I just don't like in general, and it includes the Flash, and it includes other multiverse movies. The idea that when the movies end, when the movies stop being made, the universes are destroyed. The timelines are destroyed. I don't really I don't really like the idea because like it just becomes like corporate, like wrangling, like okay, so these movies have to continue forever, or else the universe is gonna be destroyed. Like it just feels like Toy Story-izing films, like superhero movies, where like oh, but you have to take care of your toys because they have feelings, and if you don't play with your toys, they're gonna be sad. It kind of feels like doing that, but like to films where like the movie stopped being made, and sad stories didn't get being told, but that doesn't mean like the characters are now dead or being like erased from history. It feels like you're trying to like create a theme where like you kind of have to always want the movies to be made, and like I feel like that's weird and like it's reductive a lot of times. Like no, okay, now I have to like be like, okay, it's kind of sad that the Tim Story movies have stopped being made because then Ian Griffith and Michael Chiklis, Mr. Fantastic and The Thing got eaten by the evil cloud. Like, okay. I mean, like that's weird. It's such a weird thing to handle other properties. I feel like
this is like the second Marvel movie with an evil cloud, right?
Yeah.
What was the first one? I'm sorry, it's been a while.
So Mark and I agree finally. Blade didn't need to be in this movie. I think Mark is finally seeing things my way with his comment. Like it's so weird to have Blade in this, being like, oh, I need a happy ending. Like when Mark's reply, like, I agree. Blade does not need to be in this movie.
Fantastic Four 2.
What was that?
Was that again?
Sorry, I was just saying Fantastic Four 2 is the first one. Fantastic Four 2 by Tim Story was where they had Galactus as an evil storm cloud or something.
Evil cloud. I like that.
That's that's what happened. Oh, okay. All right.
So I just mean like, so this is like the second one with an evil cloud that consumes everything.
Oh, okay.
I know what Johnny should have
I guess like Blade. Look,
Johnny
what? I don't. But Blade is also the only character.
Go ahead, Miguel. What was it?
Oh, about Eliath?
Yeah, he should have said it. He should have said it.
No, I was just saying, like, I think Blade to me was. So Johnny should have said Eliath was like Galactus. You mean?
Yeah, should have said something like that. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, no, but I was also agreeing with you. I'm a little torn on Blade because I'm wondering, wait a minute, when did they get the rights to Blade? Because Blade wasn't even in the Fox universe. Blade was like New Line or something. He was Warner Brothers at one point, right?
Oh shit! I just automatically assumed because he was in the movie.
Yeah, this is why I'm like, this isn't really a letter to Fox. Really, it feels a lot more gimmicky than that.
I think. Okay, well, again, I apologize if it's a little wonky. I can see I can see the working of it's like, well, okay, yes, Blade wasn't part of Fox, but Blade is a Marvel character. So even if it was New Line, he ended up in the Void also. I that's the logic I see it.
No, I agree. But
Mark said Blade. Fox produced the Blade film, so I guess it was. So. It could be wrong. Like I said,
technicality then.
Yeah, my knowledge on this stuff is very wonky. And he said, New Line was the international distributors. Okay, all right, that makes sense. Okay. But yeah, even if it was Blade, still a Marvel character, they could. I see the logic. It works for me. I get it. It works.
But I'll take back most of what I said if there's an extended cut that shows epilogues. Because I feel like again, what I feel like it feels like that scene and those speeches from Elektra and Blade, they're trying to force the movie to have a theme. It feels like they're writing backwards. Like we want this to be about finality, about closure, but like. They had that I feel like they had these speeches written and then they kind of went out to try to find who they could get. It didn't feel like it was like, okay, we really want Elektra and Blade for this scene because we know that these speeches are gonna be right for them. It just feels like we wrote the speeches for Fox character 1 will say this and Fox character 2 will say that, and then they just kind of dialed up whoever they could get.
Look, I would just say I would argue that that's a very typical process. It's always like actor availability, like who can we get, whose schedule will fit into this role, will they do it, and if they don't, who can we get to stand in for that, like it's a lot about rights and availability and slotting people in and out. So it's like, okay, we don't have the rights to Juggernaut, let's put in Quicksilver or something, or like we don't like his power anymore, let's just
Oh, that would have been way better than getting like random like stunt guy, honestly.
I see. For me, I don't mind it personally, because again, I think it also, the fact that you had those 4 fucking randoms, a lot of this, we can be honest here, like, yeah, were those movies good? That's debatable. That's up to you. But the idea of them wanting some kind of finale, again, even it may have just been their actors and actresses as well, wanted some kind of finale. That's fine. They want to feel like they matter. Deadpool, the whole entire movie was, he wants to feel like it mattered. Well, he wanted to feel like he mattered. Wolverine, this motherfucker didn't feel like he mattered. So,
okay. All right. So actually, you guys have convinced me. You actually made the really, and Mark has convinced me too with his next comment. It's the Island of Misfit Toys. So again, you guys have convinced me. Okay, I think that Elektra makes perfect sense. Now, but Blade makes
how did
no
her movie
sense.
end? By the way, how did her movie end?
She I don't know. She wins the day. Girl power.
Okay.
No, just I've seen it. She's fighting like this evil ninja clan, and it's
fire.
Okay. It's fire.
Who turn into puffs of smoke when they die.
Like
fire.
They're mystical and all that. It's crazy. I think one of them has like a magical tattoo. It's fun. Anyway, but then I agree with that. But Elektra makes sense. Gambit makes sense. But this means, why is Blade here?
Because there's only one Blade.
Yeah, I feel like it. You know what? I feel like if you get rid of Blade and Chris Evans and replace them with again, misfit Fox characters, then you embolden the theme a lot more. Chris Evans is only there because he played Captain America and they had that joke, and like doesn't fit with like the whole core theme. You guys are kind of, you guys are kind of pushing. Like, I'm Misfit Toys, they're the losers. They come from like the movies that no one gives a chance, and so like this is like them, like trying to get some respect. So I can agree with that. You guys have convinced me of that. That is a worthwhile theme, and that makes sense for Elektra. A lot. It does.
Nah.
So but if they had all been consistent, that would have been really good. I feel like let's see. Let's
I agree with Mark on this one. Yeah, I go hold you because Marvel needs some positive things with Robin. Yo, I agree. I agree.
But that's backfiring. That's backfiring though, because it just reminds people that the Blades that were good.
Hey, no, hold on. You know why I agree with that? Because listen, it's good. You somehow you're able to convince Wesley Snipes to come back, and at least for even if it's just for this weekend, you can say, all right, bro, Marvel did something with Blade. It's the OG Blade, but I think this will be enough to hold these motherfuckers over.
It's stolen valor Blade. That's what that is. It's stolen valor.
Regardless, I think this is good for Blade. Because listen, we don't know when that movie is going to come out, if it's ever going to come out. So at least Marvel can say, hey, we got y'all. We don't know about the actual movie, but we did forget about Blade. I respect that. Good,
all right,
comment of the fucking night.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna brainstorm 2 people who should replace Blade and Chris Evans. Okay. Who should have replaced Chris Evans? Okay. Let's see here. What's her name? Elizabeth Olsen. Okay. And you know what? Here's my pitch. Okay, you think it's Elizabeth Olsen, you think she's playing Scarlet Witch, and you're right, she is playing Scarlet Witch, but she's playing Fox Universe Scarlet Witch, who does exist according to the rogue cut edition for past. Boom, get it? She was only seen off screen, so now she fits like Elements of Toys, where she's not the popular one. She never got to appear on screen. Boom. Fits the theme, okay? And then you get the same joke. We're like, oh, it's the big kind of Marvel character, Marvel actor, but it reverses on you. Okay, all right, it fits the theme.
So,
Okay.
so she doesn't have any powers?
What? Oh no. So there's Quicksilver in the Fox universe has two sisters, young one and the Days of Future Past road cut. They mention an older sister
right.
off screen. Okay, who is meant to be the hint towards Scarlet Witch. So bam. Okay, works. It fits the theme. You get the same joke. Okay, the joke stays the same. You get the same audience reaction. Okay, and it makes sense because you see the Scarlet Witch like bed later on in the movie. So like, aha, okay. Scarlet Witch, thematic.
Okay.
Now
keep going.
Now the person who replaces Blade, okay, Warlock from the unmade New Mutants sequel.
Oh,
Because they're going to make a New Mutants 2 was going to introduce Warlock. So replace Blade with Warlock. Okay.
I was rocking with you with the first one.
Okay. Who would you pick to replace Blade to fit the theme?
Can I pitch someone?
Yeah, good.
Go ahead.
I would like I vouch for the John Hamm version of Mr. Sinister.
Oh,
of Mr. Who?
Mr. Sinister. Yes.
Oh,
that would be fantastic. Because they've been like 3 movies that have set up Mr. Sinister, and then the next movie is always like a reboot or a semi-reboot of the Fox films. It's consistent, you know. They reference Mr. Sinister in X-Men The Last Stand. Then in Origins is a soft reboot. They mentioned Mr. Sinister in like in like
one of the Wolverines.
One of the Wolverines. Yeah, one of the Wolverines.
Yeah, or they? Oh no, the XX Corp. Wasn't that like Apocalypse? Like they collected his blood or something.
It was Apocalypse, yes. And then not mentioned at all in Dark Phoenix. And they mentioned him again in New Mutants. And then
like he was supposed to show up. It was building towards like a whole final appearance, and like I think he would have been like a bigger villain in the sequel or something, right?
Oh, and then you keep the New Mutants connection, you know, like bring that into the fold, you know, because that never really got an ending either. Those kids are still out there, you know.
I like that one. I like it.
So I feel like, yeah, you know, I think that those are solid 2 picks to replace those characters. I think that, you know, I still think that like, you know, Gambit is really the only one you need. But if they were consistent in the characters being used, and then the theme itself is there. Yeah, I agree with you. The theme itself is there in the film, but like it is weakened by these really weird, gimmicky Flash style cameos. You know, like because like Chris Evans and the Blade, it feel like the Flash. Like, okay, we're gonna have this character show up because they're popular, people know them. And like that's not what the movie is trying to go for. Where it's like, again, and like Mark said, I love this. Like this Island of Misfit Toys, the Forgotten. Blade's not forgotten. Chris Evans is not forgotten. Like, why are they here? They don't make sense. Like thematically,
the character has been forgotten, not the
Blade's
actor.
not forgotten.
Well, I mean the Wesley that specific incarnation of Blade,
not forgotten at all.
I think I don't think it's forgotten because I think out of the batch of movies, you know, that they pulled from, I think Blade is the one that kind of gets brought up the most, especially as of recently. Because, you know, there may be people that do talk about the election movie. There may be people, you know, who talk about, you know, who obviously there's people who talk about X-23, but I feel like the consistent one that people bring up, it's always Blade. And because there's a lot of history behind Blade. So I do see that. I see that.
I mean, like if you were trying to be on brand and have Blade, it would have been really funny if it was like yes, it was like but like from the first Blade draft, you know, like it's like he's wearing like an old timey like 1800s suit because I think like one of the first rumors drafts was Blade was going to take place in like Victorian England, you know, wasn't that like one of the rumors? That would have been funny because that way, you know, you have Blade show up, it's Marshall Ali, and it's like a forgotten Blade, and you don't have to like bring up like the weirdness with Wesley Snipes. Because again, I don't think Wesley Snipes feels like a gimme moment, you know? Like, but if you want Blade, the joke stays similar, you know?
You know what? I'm gonna piggyback off of that. I say still use Wesley Snipes, maybe not in this movie though, because remember there were also rumors that, you know, he was going to be in Secret Wars. Throw him there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, you throw him there. Then you put Marshall Ali, and then that would have been even 10 times as more funny because it's like, oh, so you forgot out what to do with Marshall Ali in a Deadpool movie. That's a quote unquote epilogue to the Fox universe, but you can't figure out what you're gonna do with him in his own movie. I like it.
So yeah, again, conceptually on paper, this movie works. Execution wise, I agree with Mark. I think he mentioned this at the beginning. Disney definitely had a hand with the script, a lot of production. It feels like a Disney movie a lot of times, and like it kind of. I feel like it's death of a thousand cuts. You know, like this was whittled down from like whatever pitch they originally had or whatever ideas they originally had, and this is like what they could salvage. And you know what? At least it's not as bad as X3, because X3 has like maybe one good idea and it is just embarrassing. So
X3 was like really mediocre. Like I would put this slightly above X, but then again, like X3 for me, that's like C level. That's not even D level,
Yeah,
like,
but you said Apocalypse is D level, so I can't trust you.
Can I say something here? I'm sorry, and I know I'm gonna piss some people off. I would watch X3 a couple more times before I watch this again. I ain't gonna hold you. I liked X3. I liked it. Is it perfect? No, but I had a lot of fun with that movie. That movie didn't make sense, but I had fun with it.
I would say it was surprisingly coherent, even though it has two main plots that have nothing to do with each other. And I always, for some reason, it's like when I rewatched it, I'm like, it has one legitimately good scene, and that's Rogan Wolverine. I'm not your father, I'm your friend. That was like, okay, that was like the highest. That was like a high point. I would rank it among the best X-Men scenes like ever. Surprisingly enough, in this movie. But regarding Deadpool and Wolverine, I will add one more thing. I've been thinking a bit about the strikes and everything, and I'm definitely wondering just how much of an impact they had, because I read some stuff where they had to shoot parts of the movie like 6 months apart or something, and I'm kind of wondering now if that's one of the reasons why it feels like visually inconsistent. Like some parts of like especially the beginning of the movie, it is like super bland, but then the second half it's like a lot more interesting.
I'll give you that, because even though I don't think Sean Levy is a great filmmaker, he is usually not as incompetent as this. And I feel like this is like the most incompetent looking X-Men movie by a large margin. Like you were saying, Ro, that you would see X3 like more than you would see this. I would see Origins more than I would see this. I rewatched Origins too. I know what Origins at least has, other than the CGI, a lot. I enjoyed watching visually Origins. I think like the part where Gambit kind of flies through the air as like the entire like nuclear tower is falling down is like really cool, and I love the fight with X12 or X11. Mouthless Deadpool and Sabretooth and Wolverine. I think that's really fun. It's shot really well. It's choreographed to really fun. Like the way that they use all their powers and all together. I think that's really cool. And I love, even though like people call it corny, but I do love like the gags in the Gambit fight between Gambit and Wolverine. I think that's really fun. I think that Gambit, he's bad performance by Taylor Kitsch. I like Taylor Kitsch. He's not a bad actor, but bad performance, bad writing. The movie is not good. The movie is not good. I felt let me finish. I felt less irritated because it was shorter. So I didn't have to suffer through it a lot more,
Okay, so I felt way more irritated because it's like, like we are debating like whether or not like the cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine make sense, and I'm like, well, in Origins they just keep bringing up more and more random mutants for like almost no reason, like other than to sell toys, like they bring in Cyclops and like somehow it becomes a complete like X-Men prequel story with Cyclops for no reason, like. At one point they had like Kid Storm in there, just like all of these other X-Force or team members or whatever they were, it's like they're completely wasted and have, what I'm saying? It's like they're just there to sell, to fill up the time. You know, like I mean,
And
no role whatsoever, no purpose.
Yeah, but like you could make the same argument, and I have like over the last 2 hours against Deadpool and Wolverine.
No, I would way more.
Listen, we're not gonna go in circles, man.
Exactly.
This is it's the 2 hour time.
Exactly,
Yeah.
But Origins is shorter.
Okay, yeah.
So that gives it the edge. It's shorter.
Wait, how long? Wait, hold on. Let me look at the runtime.
I also thought it was very visually bland, though. Like,
no,
I
let me look at the runtime.
It's fine. It's visually, it's fine. I think some of the stuff is cool. Like all of the stuff with like Wade in the action scene. Like, they reused that for Deadpool 1 and 2 for a reason. And that's what I like about Deadpool 1 and 2 is that they reuse.
Okay. I will say this. I think
Deadpool.
Origins looks better in hindsight because of how much Deadpool 1 and 2 make fun of it.
Too. I think that like it's mine, and so that's why I also don't really like Deadpool and Wolverine, because it feels like like a lot of times Deadpool 1 and 2 they acknowledge, and they're a lot more, I think, savvy about like the ins and outs of the Fox universe. And then like this one, it just feels like we're not even going to really broach that kind of stuff, even though the movie is based around that kind of stuff. We're gonna go for like really low hanging fruit, but not any clever stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so. I think for me at least, the commentary on what's happening. For me, I thought it was fine. Again, and for me, and especially considering everything that's happening right now in the MCU. So for me, I think I do enjoy a little bit more the fact that there's a movie out there that's not afraid to say what it is. That's not afraid to say what things could be like. So for me, based on the current state of the MCU, I thought the commentary was fine.
Yeah, no, I don't mind the commentary. The execution is where execution.
Yeah, so, and also in regards to runtime, man, X-Men Origins Wolverine is 1 hour 47 minutes. This shit is 2 hours and 7 minutes. It's they not that far.
Okay, to be fair, I feel like X-Men Origins Wolverine has a much quicker pace about it, because a lot of ridiculous shit happens in it. Like every scene, something ridiculous is happening. So it's not boring. While most of, as I mentioned, the second act of Deadpool and Wolverine is just them just kind of driving in like a really flat shot in a minivan through a desert.
It's a road trip, That's like
but
buddy cop.
But there's no stops in a road trip. You have stops. That's the whole point of a road trip.
They do stop. They stop.
They stop in a cornfield to talk to the most badly acted Deadpool. Oh wow! Sorry.
I feel like if we're gonna keep going through like little intro, we're gonna be here for 3 hours. Okay. All right. So listen, to be fair of time, because I know we all got work and shit in the morning. Let's kind of wrap this up. Good. So we'll just say we'll go around. And by the way, AJ had to leave because there's a storm down there in Atlanta, so his power went out. So apologies. But to wrap this up, we'll go around and just give quick final thoughts and then a rating, starting with Mikhail. Quick final thoughts and a rating.
Okay, so I think. It is. I still think it's the weakest Deadpool movie. I don't think it's the weakest X movie. I would give it a C, and C meaning it's like a 6 out of 10 level of, so overall it's okay. It's not bad, and and I think this was not the worst way for the Fox universe to go out if this is a definitive ending.
Okay. Elvis.
So, let's see here. There are 5 X-Men movies where I can say that they're flawed, mostly not really complete films, but at the very end of the day, they say something, and I enjoy the parts of it that are good. And those movies are The New Mutants, X-Men First Class, X-Men Origins, and X3 for whatever sliver of dignity that has. And I think that Deadpool and Wolverine fits right among them. And the one thing I can say about the X-Men, universe, the X-Men film franchise, is that even in the worst ones, there is always something that I walk away going, you know what? I really appreciated that aspect. Be it that performance, that idea, that that audacity or that swing. Like there's something that I can walk away going, you know what, the movie might not have worked for me overall, but I'm glad that like they at least had the awareness to do that, to do at least this part of it. So I gotta give it like a 4 out of 10. It's not the worst one, but you know what? I'm just glad that it ended. I'm glad that like as an ending that it had like this idea of like we're gonna end the X-Men universe on a note, a finale note. I think that the other endings all were serviceable notes, but at least it was like flag in the ground. Okay. Flag in the ground.
As for myself, give me 1 second. I'm about to go get ready to watch House of Dragons, like right after this. And a few. Okay, so final thoughts. I had a good time. That's all I wanted. I think these two guys, they bounce off great off each other. I think if I was more attached to Deadpool as a character, and if I was more attached to, the Fox universe, and if I was more attached to the Deadpool movies, I think my rating would fluctuate. But I only watched Deadpool, the first one time. I only watched Deadpool 2 one time. I've only watched this one time. So if I'm going based off of my initial feelings of all three, I think this is okay. But what I would like to do at some point is do what Elvis did, is just like watch the entire Fox universe and then slot this in at the end. So I'm going to give this 2 ratings. Based off of what I've seen, including the Fox universe, I think this is a good 7 out of 10, maybe 6.57 out of 10. So, but when I rewatch everything,
Nice.
which I will probably do at some point, I think this will change. It could either go up or it could either go down. But I do want to be fair and watch everything, because I think the last Fox movie I watched in theaters and I watched consistently was Days of Future Past. I dropped off after that. And then I said fuck all everything in the middle, and then I watched Logan, and then here we are today. So I have a pending review, and then I have an initial review, which is a 6.57. So that's where I land.
I agree with that. And as I mentioned, if there's an extended cut that they release on like VOD or like on Blu-ray or something like that, I'll watch it. I feel like there is stuff here that just needed more time to breathe. And it just felt like it was long, but it felt like it went through the stuff that mattered too quickly.
Okay. And
I get that. I think that's a valid criticism.
And we have like 2 comments here. I do want to highlight Mark's. He said, Mark's, I will defend this film the same way I did for Green Lantern. It's a comic book film. Have fun watching it. Doesn't need to be dissected except for why X-23 was in the void. I think that's valid. And why Thor was crying.
I agree with Mark as well. I think Green Lantern is way overhated at this point. It's become mimetic in terms of how hated it is. Like it's become like the cool thing to hate. When like the real issue with Green Lantern is honestly that the third act is just super rushed, but the rest of it is like it's fine. It's no worse than like I don't know any of the Punisher movies.
I still haven't watched it. It's not because I just don't want. I just have never gotten around to watch it. I think I'll take an edible at some point and then just like watch it, and then I'll.
Yeah, no, like it's just a Green Lantern movie. And that's it. Like okay, it's a Green Lantern movie. It's not a great one, but you're thinking that people like, oh no, it's Green Lantern, like ridiculous. I don't know.
And Red Kylo said, I've watched this more for Wolverine than Deadpool, which, hey, I'm not mad at that. And like I said before, if I take off the fact that it's Hugh Jackman, I can still just watch the Logan movies and end there. And this is just a movie I can place at the end. It's like, oh, this is a new Logan, well, another Logan, and then the story continues. But I agree. I thought the Wolverine was dope too.
Well, the Wolverine is great. It's a great film. It's my second favorite.
Tevia said, I give this a 10 out of 10 perfection. Yo, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. like I said, I think the chemistry worked, and I do see. I can understand why people can say this is the best movie since XYZ. Listen, I get it. I'm not mad at it. But yeah,
It's
so
not a great movie, but gives you a great time.
yeah, it gives great time.
You know?
Yeah, and which was all I asked for. And like I said, for me, I'm lucky because I like Captain Marvel too. And so the fact that in this time frame that I got Captain Marvel 2 and I got Deadpool Wolverine, and I could say they were a good time, I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad at that at all.
You know what? I can't be mad. Like, again, I have problems with the movie. I don't like the movie, honestly, but I can't be mad at the movie because, as I mentioned, I'm just, you know what? Even though I don't think I went about it the right way, I do really enjoy the case it made for the X movies. Do I think that case needed to be made while like being a spinoff of Loki season 2? No, I don't. But I do like that. Like, if anyone tries to talk shit about the X-Men film universe, I can point to this and be like, you know what? There's this. I'm sorry, but like, you like this movie, I'm not gonna point to it. This is like it tried to make the defense for those, and I can't be mad at it. Can't be mad.
Word. So I do want to thank you brothers, Mikhail. I know we kind of snatched you last minute, but I'm happy you were able to make it. Elvis, as always, thank you for being here. AJ, even though everything that happened that's going on down there, I hope you're safe, brother. Thank you for making it. So before we leave, because I gotta go watch some House of Dragons, I do want to give everybody their time to shine. So Mikhail, since you are the guest, I'm gonna put up your Twitter here. Go ahead, plug yourself, brother.
Oh yeah, man. I agree with Mark about his comment about McAvoy and Cassandra Nova. I feel like Cassandra is I feel like her last scene kind of makes it weird. That becomes like the villain. Like it wasn't really boasting much. I feel like it just feels perfunctory to have a villain. I don't think you really needed her to be like at the end, like just to have someone to fight, and I agree. Like more of that might have helped like sell that more like of back and forth, more of like backstory between her and Charles, because there's a lot there. It's fertile ground. I'm disappointed that they didn't like utilize enough especially because they kind of motioned toward some more of the emotional stuff with her.
Okay.
Like they motioned toward okay, that's good to bring it up, but like you didn't really delve into it. You didn't really utilize it,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think that's a good conversation to have at some point later on. But yeah, like I said, we get late, but yeah, Mikhail, if you want to go plug yourself, brother, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Listen, yeah, I'm sorry. I think I lost like the last 30 seconds because of some sound issue. But okay, so yeah, so I already okay, so you can catch me at textualvariations.com. That's upstack.com. That's my newsletter, and MLS532. That's my Twitter handle. So please, check out my work there. I write a lot about films and how films change and television. Pretty much everything that comes to mind about pop culture.
All right. Elvis, go ahead, brother. You up?
All right. You can find me on Twitter at TheSnickman, THE_SNICKMAN, and also my channel Unsourced Wall Radio, where I do a bunch of roundtable discussions on random stuff, comics, movies, TV shows, what have you. It's really just kind of shooting the shit with like some of my friends here, and it's always a good time. Maybe hopefully soon we'll talk about some other comic movies or movies that are coming out. So thank you, and lock me there. And
I'll go ahead and plug AJ. You guys can find AJ at Mr_Mitchell_2_U. I'll just say the same thing he says. You just find him giving hot takes or not hot takes on comic book stuff. So please go check him out. Please go support him. And please go support everybody here who popped up on the channel, Mikhail included. And as always, you guys can find me, on my channel, Rule of a Queen Reviews. Thank you to the influx of followers that I've gotten in the past 4 days. I've been covering the San Diego stuff pretty heavily. So thank you to everybody, who subscribed. I will be back this week. I have something special planned that's in the works. I won't give too much context, but when you see it, I think people will enjoy it. But yeah, and as always, you could find me on my Twitter, which is Roll of a Queen _. Just talking about comics and everything else in between pretty much. Thank you guys, all for popping up. Thank you to everybody who showed up to the stream. Thank everybody in the comments. And if you're watching this after the fact, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe. It's great to be back. It's great to have Elvis. Great to have AJ. Thank you for Mikhail, who showed up again. This is the Comics Code Authority. Thank you for tuning in. Much love, much peace. We are out.